From YouTube fame to food stamps, from viral stardom to selling their own play buttons just to survive. These aren't just stories of downfall, they're warnings. Here are 10 YouTubers who went broke and where they are now. Before TikTok stars, before viral song covers were even a genre, there was Esme Denters, a Dutch teenager with nothing but a webcam and a voice that made the internet stop scrolling. Her raw covers earned millions of views. And then Justin Timberlake noticed. She wasn't just internet famous anymore. She was on MTV, opening for Beyonce.
Drunk in love, we be all night.
Dropping a debut album under Timberlake's own label. It felt like the dream was happening in real time, but the music industry didn't slow down for YouTubers. Sales flopped, the label moved on, and by 2012, Esme was quietly dropped. The spotlight faded, the offers dried up, and for a while, Esme disappeared until 2015, when she re-emerged not on YouTube, but as a contestant on The Voice UK. A few chairs turned, but the world had already moved on, and yet, she never stopped singing. Years later, she was back online, not chasing charts, not backed by a label, just stripped down covers, heartfelt captions, and a second act still being written. While Esme quietly rebuilt her voice in private, another early YouTuber was learning that viral fame doesn't always come with a safety net. In the early 2010s, overboard humor was everywhere. Pranks, shock value, millions of subscribers. It was loud, chaotic, profitable. For a while it worked, but behind the scenes, the views were slipping, the brand was stale, and the algorithm wasn't laughing anymore. The money dried up, the fame disappeared, and by 2017, Gareth was sleeping rough on the streets of LA. No safety net, no savings, just a cardboard sign and a gold play button he had to pawn to buy food. For most, that would have been the end of the story, but Gareth didn't vanish. Years later, he reappeared not with a comeback video, but in the background of someone else's vlog. Clean shaven, softer, grounded, no more fake drama, no rented sports cars, just a guy who'd been humbled by reality and was finally ready to start over. Sometimes the glow up isn't flashy, it's just surviving with a little more honesty than before. Gareth's story was about losing it all, then quietly rebuilding. For Thomas Halbert, the fall wasn't quiet at all. In 2018, Thomas was everywhere. Makeup tutorials, takedown videos, collabs, controversy. He blended drama and beauty like no one else, and in the world of YouTube, that was a formula for instant fame. But fame came with fallout. His defining moment arrived when he inserted himself into one of the biggest online meltdowns in beauty community history, the infamous Dramageddon. One day he was trending, the next torn apart by the same audience that built him, and that was just online. Offline, Thomas was struggling too. In 2019, he posted a GoFundMe for emergency vet bills and admitted he had less than $100 to his name. But instead of sympathy, he got skepticism. Critics pointed to his lifestyle, his purchases, his past flexes. The backlash was swift and brutal. Views plummeted, sponsorships vanished, the upload slowed to a crawl. But unlike many, Thomas didn't disappear. He didn't pretend it didn't happen. He kept posting stripped down, unfiltered, sometimes visibly shaken. No glam, no edits, just honesty. He wasn't chasing redemption. He was living in the wreckage and choosing to speak from it. While Thomas was facing the wrath of cancel culture, another creator was facing something even heavier, a criminal conviction. Mark Meechan, better known online as Count Dankula, wasn't a beauty YouTuber or a lifestyle vlogger. He was a provocateur, and in 2016, he crossed a line most wouldn't even toe. As a joke, he trained his girlfriend's pug to perform a Nazi salute on command. The punchline? That it was the least cute thing he could teach it. Online, it went viral. Offline, it sparked outrage. And in Scotland, it led to an actual arrest. He was charged under the UK's Communications Act for posting offensive content. To him, it was satire. To the courts, it was hate speech. He refused to pay the $800 fine, so the authorities took it directly from his account. Most would have gone silent after that, but Mark didn't flinch. He leaned into the chaos, doubling down on free speech advocacy, launching podcasts, and turning controversy into his content. He lost income, he lost brand safety, he lost YouTube's favor, but somehow he became more recognizable than ever. Count Dankula didn't go broke from bad spending or poor planning. He went broke for a punchline and turned it into a political identity. Count Dankula's story was loud, political, public, polarizing. Olivia's was the opposite. No headlines, no lawsuits, just a slow collapse behind filtered photos and curated captions. In her own words, she lived way too fast in her early 20s, leased a Range Rover, maxed out credit cards, flew to Coachella like it was a requirement. On Instagram, it looked effortless. In reality, she was drowning. The brand deals were inconsistent, the rent was high, and the lifestyle she thought came with being an influencer was pushing her into 5 figures of debt. At 24, she broke the illusion, posted a video titled "The Worst Financial Mistakes I Made in My 20s." No clickbait, no product placement, just honesty. She talked about money not as a flex, but as a warning. No designer bags, no manifest it mantras, just a girl who burned out early and decided not to fake it anymore. And instead of losing her audience, she gained something more rare: respect. Because in a world full of filters, being real is the only thing that still feels new. Olivia's downfall was a quiet one, missed payment at a time. David Dobrik's, it happened in the spotlight, with the cameras still rolling. At his peak, David wasn't just a YouTuber, he was the YouTuber. 10 million subscribers, celebrity cameos, surprise Teslas. He made chaos look charming and built an empire on the energy of his vlog squad. But in 2021, the tone shifted, not from David directly, but from the world around him. Allegations surfaced. A member of his crew was accused of sexual assault during a video David filmed and uploaded. His apology felt more like PR than remorse. Posted on a second channel, comments off, no real accountability, and then the fallout. Sponsorships vanished. Dispo, his app, once valued at $200 million, was dropped by investors. Friends distanced themselves. The uploads slowed, the smiles faded, the vlogs lost their music, and suddenly the guy who gave away cars couldn't give away his content. David's not gone, he's still posting, but the views are down, the magic's missing, and for someone who once made everything look easy, staying relevant now looks like the hardest job in the world. David's empire unraveled under public pressure. Omi and a Hellcats came crashing down under federal charges. For years, Omi was the face of YouTube flex culture. Garage full of Lamborghinis, stacks of cash, watch collections that rivaled jewelry stores. He called it humble bragging, but behind the scenes it wasn't humble and it wasn't legal. Turns out Omi wasn't just a content creator. He was running a multi-million-dollar illegal streaming service, hijacking cable signals, reselling them to thousands, and pocketing the profits. Over $30 million according to the feds. And when they came knocking, it was all gone. Cars, the houses, the bank accounts, seized. He didn't deny it. He didn't run. He stood in front of the camera. No chains, no filters, and said, "I messed up, but I learned." Now he films from a modest home. No more mansions, no more excess, just stories, lessons, warnings. He's still uploading, still present, but the Omi people once watched for aspiration is now the cautionary tale he used to flex against. Omi lost everything because of what he did behind the scenes. James Charles lost it because of what he did in plain sight. In 2016, he made history as the first male cover girl. By 2020, he was a multi-millionaire ad deals, makeup lines, brand partnerships. At just 21, James was everywhere. But in 2021, everything stopped. Multiple underage boys came forward, accusing James of inappropriate messages and receiving explicit images. He responded with an apology. "I didn't know their ages," he said. "That's on me." But the damage was already done. YouTube demonetized his channel. Morphe dropped his makeup line. Sponsors vanished overnight. The empire he built in just 5 years crumbled in weeks. He kept posting, but it was different. Less glam, less excitement, more silence. The sisters fandom that once ruled beauty YouTube became a memory. And for a creator who built his brand on confidences and on his charisma and control, James was suddenly left with none of the above. James Charles lost his empire overnight. Boogie 2988. He just wore down over time. For more than a decade, Boogie was a staple of early YouTube. Funny, self-deprecating, brutally honest about mental health, obesity, trauma, all the things creators usually hid. He wasn't flashy, he was relatable, and for years that was enough. But as YouTube changed, Boogie didn't. The views declined, the algorithm shifted, the checks got smaller, and in 2022 he made a video that hit different. "I'm in financial ruin, I may lose my house." It wasn't a stunt, it wasn't a plot twist, it was real, and not everyone had sympathy. Comments flooded in. "Didn't this dude buy a Tesla? This feels manipulative. Get a job." But Boogie didn't disappear. He pivoted to boxing, to crypto ads, to anything that could bring in income. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't graceful, but it was raw. And for someone who built a career by being honest, it was heartbreakingly in brand. He's still here, still posting. Broke? Yes. Beaten? Maybe, but buried? Not yet. Boogie tried to hustle his way out of a financial collapse. Andrew Hales, he just admitted it with a shrug, a smirk, and a story. No drama, no scandal, no federal charges. Just a guy who partied a little too much, uploaded a little too rarely, and assumed the money would always be there. In 2021, he posted a video titled, "How I Became Broke." He wasn't angry, he wasn't asking for donations, he just walked through every mistake like a friend talking over coffee. "I'm like $40 to $50K in debt, credit cards, dumb spending." It caught up to me. It wasn't clickbait, it wasn't over-indicted, it was just honest. There were no Teslas to pawn, no apology tours, just Andrew in an empty apartment joking about maybe selling his couch next. And somehow, that hit harder than any scandal ever could. He still uploads here and there, no schedule, no sponsors, no spectacle. He may not have the money anymore, but he has something most creators lost chasing it: perspective and trust. Some went silent, some came clean, and some are still figuring it out one upload at a time. Because on YouTube, going broke doesn't always mean disappearing. Sometimes it's just the next chapter.